Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. As we all know, the development of the global chip industry has been severely restricted due to the chip control adopted by the United States. In order to break the technological blockade of the outside world, Chinese companies have begun to develop an independent and autonomous chip industry chain. With the continuous deepening of the layout of Chinese companies such as Huawei, the domestic chip design, manufacturing, raw material production, and other full industry chains have gradually formed. However, the US chip blockade against China is also escalating, not only restricting external chip foundry channels. It also joined forces with Japan, the Netherlands and other countries to impose a blockade on China's advanced semiconductor equipment. Recently, Dutch Foreign Minister Casper Veldkamp came to Beijing for a visit. The main purpose of this trip was to explore cooperation between the two countries. According to Observer.com, the other party revealed that China has applied to the Netherlands, hoping to relax semiconductor-related controls. This is also the first visit to China by a member of the cabinet of the new Dutch government since it came to power in July 2024. Prior to this, China had expressed special concern about the export of semiconductor equipment from the Netherlands. As the only semiconductor equipment manufacturer in the industry with the ability to mass-produce EUV lithography machines, ASML of the Netherlands has been suffering from geopolitical influences in recent years. The company's profitability has also been affected by the inability to ship high-end lithography machines to the Chinese market. In order to get rid of external restrictions on semiconductor equipment, Chinese companies have begun to deploy domestic high-end lithography machines. The Chinese Academy of Sciences has released news of EUV light source prototypes, and Shenzhen Xinkai has announced a number of self-developed semiconductor equipment. This means that Chinese semiconductor equipment manufacturers are constantly attacking advanced semiconductor equipment. With the coming of the Trump administration, the US chip control on China is mainly concentrated in the field of AI chips, which has also allowed China to further accelerate the deployment of domestic AI chips. In this high-level conversation between China and the Netherlands released to the outside world that China hopes to relax the control of semiconductor equipment, but in fact it is the Dutch ASML itself that is anxious. Prior to this, Dutch ASML CEO Wennink appealed to the outside world, saying that the chip control imposed by the United States and the West on China will force Chinese companies to become more innovative and solve the problem of advanced semiconductor equipment. At that time, overseas companies that adopt control will lose a larger market share. China's breakthroughs in the field of high-end semiconductor equipment in recent years are obvious to all, with the continuous improvement of the domestic industrial chain. The test and production of domestic high-end lithography machines, EUV lithography machines, are imminent. Recently, there has been news that the domestic EUV lithography machine prototype will be tested in the second half of 2026. If the news is true, the breakthrough of domestic high-end lithography machines should be completed within 2 to 3 years. By then, the semiconductor equipment control adopted by the Netherlands on ASML will gradually backfire on itself. On the surface, the Dutch foreign minister said that China made the request, but in fact it was also a test of the Netherlands' overseas allies, such as the United States. If the relevant statement is not concerned by the United States, the other party will take the initiative to relax the shipment restrictions of semiconductor equipment. The huge demand and potential of the Chinese market are the important factors that ASML, a Dutch company, is unwilling to leave the Chinese market. On the other hand, ASML of the Netherlands has built a large number of patent walls in the field of high-end lithography machines. If it wants to develop EUV lithography machines, it will inevitably have to bypass the other party's technical patents. Against the background of globalization going against the trend, some netizens believe that China should take the initiative to give up intellectual property protection for Dutch companies. If China really gives up the protection of Dutch intellectual property rights, relying on domestic industrial chains and technical experts, it is still feasible to build a few EUV lithography machines by hand. At present, the reason why the domestic chip industry is stuck is largely because China actively recognizes Western technical rules on the one hand, and on the other hand, it has to suffer unfair treatment from the outside world. Advanced equipment is not sold to China, and China is still blocked in the field of technology. Chinese companies must start from the bottom and bypass Western patent protection to break through. How easy is this? Fortunately, Chinese engineers are powerful, and they have gradually built a complete ecosystem for the domestic chip industry. If it is placed in any Western country overseas, it is a question whether it can succeed to independently build a chip industry chain, not to mention the huge cost. Therefore, the semiconductor dilemma faced by China is unprecedented. Under such conditions, it is impossible for any Western blockade to shake China in the future. China's semiconductor industry is accelerating its breakthrough under the blockade of the United States and the West. The domestic EUV lithography machine prototype will be tested in 2026, and ASML of the Netherlands is worried about losing the Chinese market. The high-level talks between China and the Netherlands send a signal of cooperation. In the game between technology patents and globalization, Chinese engineers are building a complete chip ecosystem. What do you think about this? Welcome to leave a message and discuss.